Hey there, welcome back once again. It is time for the golden age of DC Comics, 365 days, where I take this beloved hardcover coffee table book given to me about 2 decades ago by one of my best friends. This has been surfing my coffee table ever since and has been a constant source of comic book shop style conversations, the kind I intend to recreate today with you right here, right now. So thank you so much for tuning in. The golden age of DC Comics runs between 1938 and 1955. The Silver Age between 1956 and 1970. The Bronze Age, I'm a Bronze Age baby, 1970 to 1985. And the Copper Age begins in 1985. I get these standards from the Overstreet Price Guide, the most current edition's glossary, and I feel it's a fair and fine place to have these standards about the ages of comic books. This is an invaluable tool. You should get one. I also will suggest in every episode, I'm going to suggest Understanding Comics, The Invisible Art by Scott Mcleod. It is a comic book about comic books. It is about art history. It's about sequential art, and it's about the niche little genre that we all enjoy here, comic book storytelling, and just breaks it down into some really interesting information, and it's really good. This is fun. This is because we are the outsider looking in at these comic books most of the time, but this is the insider looking out from the inside of the panel to the out to us. You know, figure, form, relation, perspective, scale, action, dynamism. You know, this is the literal art of comic books and comic book making. I love comic books, and if you love comic books as much as I do, you're in the right place at the right time. You are the most important ingredient in my recipe here of my show. This conversation we're having right now. Please continue to leave comments. Keep the conversation going. Thank you so very much. I'm using this 365 days book for its intended purpose. We're going to open to today's date. It is September the 28th. We are going to look at some comic book art of an antediluvian age. We're going to read the blurb, and then we're going to talk about comic books. And we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. Huzzah! Ha 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 ha! Indeed. So let's get to it. I hope that you're clobbering your problems and not being clobbered by them. And yeah, thank you so very much. I'm just blessed that we're all here talking about comic books every day. Feel free to look into the playlist. I've got these all these all archived. We've been talking about comic books all year, haven't we? Every day. It's so fun to talk about comic books every day. So let's get to it. Let's open up the book. It's September the 28th. This is art by the legendary Bob Kane from Action Comics number 15, August of 1939. Suddenly, the rock moves as if on a pivot and reveals a yawning vault. Look at the last door to the treasure room. What's that mummy case doing against the door? Remember, this is the late 30s. Mummies are huge. We're going to get into this in just a second. As they take a step towards the door, the mummy case opens and... Stop! Go away! And let the dust of centuries remain undisturbed. Go before I call down the wrath of my ancestors. Go before the curse of the tomb befalls you. See Bob Kane's maker mark right there. They're in shadows with the light source in front of them. Look, I actually think this is really great composition. It's good use of the light source right there because the shadows are in their proper position. Think about it. I mean, look, that's great in both panels. This is sequential art. Yeah. And let's read the blurb. Who are we talking about? What's going on? Let's find out. Bob Kane started out with humor features like Peter Pup and Hiram Hick, but gradually got more interested in action and created Clip Carson, almost simultaneously with the debut of his signature character, Batman. Here, Clip and his archaeologist pal, Jim Blake, are treasure hunting in a pyramid when they run into popular culture's inevitable revenant, a living mummy. Or could it be some kind of trick? Readers had to wait until the next issue to find out. That's right. I use my business cards as a bookmark. It works. It really does. Just to let you know too, like this is an Abrams 2004 publication. I use it literally for its intended purpose, to be entertained and to entertain myself and my company by talking about comic books. This is like, we're using this book for its intended purpose. There is a link to the description. I mean, and there's a link to the Amazon page in the description. You can get your own copy if you'd like. This was written and curated by Les Daniels, Chip Kidd, and Geoff Spear. And I just want to give proper props, like in every episode, or mostly every episode, at every time I remember. It's only right. I mean, no infringements are intended. This is purely my copy. This is my old book, and I'm reading it, and we're just having conversations about comic books. And I think it's a great excuse to have a year's worth of comic book content. We can literally talk about comic books every day. This is a great book, and that's pretty much why I say that every time. I just you never know with people, flagging and getting, claiming things for copyright, and there's no copyright infringement intended. I'm not making any money off this. I don't intend to. I want to talk about comic books, and that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Sticking to stories, let's talk about Clip Carson. Who the heck is Clip Carson? He's from Earth 2, the Golden Age. I'm here at the DC database. It's a wiki. It is. Clip Carson, first name unknown. Let's see. His base of operations, mobile. Alignment, good. Identity, public. Citizenship, American. Marital status, single. Occupation, adventurer. Soldier, for hire. Gender, male. Hair, black. Universe, Earth 2. First appearance, Action Comics number 14, July of 1939. His last appearance was More Fun Comics number 76 in February of 1942. So this is probably Clip Carson This is an original archetype for Indiana Jones. Totally. In the early 1940s, Clip Carson traveled the world as a soldier of fortune, having adventures in every corner of it, from Egypt to India to Kenya to Hollywood to Panama to Alaska. He would be considered either a security agent or a mercenary gunman, depending on how popular he was in any given place. And he visited lots of places and made friends in some of them and enemies in all of them. The enemies tended to end up dead. Carson was a quick draw artist and a crack shot with either hand. His abilities. Escapology. Carson had the ability to slip out of any kind of bindings, which he learned from a Hindu fakir in Calcutta. Firearms and hand-to-hand combat basics. His weapons were 2 revolvers. And this version of Clip Carson, including all history and corresponding appearances, was erased from existence following the collapse of the original multiverse in the 1985-86 Crisis on Infinite Earths. Even though versions of the character may have since appeared, this information does not apply to those versions. And that's it for Clip Carson. He's just we're remembering him today. And in the Mummies, there's a mummy here, and the Mummy was huge. I don't recall ever seeing the Mummy. This is a 1932 film with Boris Karloff, the famous character actor. He did a 1931 Dracula. I mean, I'm watching all the Dracula movies he did, and I just watched Dracula 1931, and I was like, I can't believe it. I don't think I've ever seen this, and it's so good. And Boris Karloff was just so compelling. But the next year, after he did Dracula, he did The Mummy. And this started off a huge love of like this horror movie thing. I mean, these were horror movies of the early to mid 1930s. And Boris Karloff, he got a lot of gigs between Dracula and The Mummy. The Mummy had no, unlike other Universal monster films, The Mummy had no official sequels, but rather was reimagined in The Mummy's Hand in 1940. And let's see, there's The Mummy's Tomb in 1942, The Mummy's Ghost in 1944, and The Mummy's Curse in 1944. And then later on, there was Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. And by that time, they got Lon Chaney Jr. to be the Mummy. And then there was the 90s movies with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. And Rachel Weisz, hi. Call me? Nah, you're with James Bond. And then there was the horrible, ill-received Tom Cruise version. Oh, man. And then, in 2012 or so. Oh, gosh. That was a very, very horrible. It was called The Dark Universe. It was going to be some kind of shared universe of the Universal monster films, and The Mummy. It was 2017, sorry, and the shared universe was announced in 2012. Sorry about that, and well, somebody call my mummy and get her to pick me up. I think I'm going to wrap this show up for today. We've been talking about comic books, and we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. So tune in tomorrow, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern, and we'll find out who we're talking about when we turn the page tomorrow. Please like and subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. We talk about comic books. We talk about cooking. We talk about purpose and gratitude and spirituality. And we're also starting soon, next week, I'm starting a new show called The 31 Days of Halloween. And I'm doing 31 horror movies in the 31 days of October, leading up to the reveal of one of my all-time favorite Halloween movies, and it hits me culturally. And I'll get to that when I get to it on that show. So tune in there and join us there. Okay, thank you so much for tuning in. God bless. Namaste. Good luck. And we will see you again tomorrow in those funny pages. Bye-bye.